Hey, everybody, Tanner Larsson here, and welcome back to the Optimized Ecommerce Podcast. Excited to have you guys here. Excited for you to hear this episode because this is one that we've been trying to get for a while now. I think we've probably rescheduled 3-4 times now, 3 times. Yeah, life has just gotten in the way. But this will be a fun one for you guys. It's a great one for me. I always love talking to Deven. So our guest today is Deven Davis. Deven is he started out as a customer of BGS when he found out about our book and then came to our event and joined our programs. But very quickly, as Deven, once you join the BGS ecosystem, you basically kind of turn into family over time. But when you have your extended family and then you have your inner family and you have your close family and your extended family, Deven's really quickly become one of our close family members and definitely like a blood brother in that regard, because we just connect on so many levels. He's got a great head for business. He loves e-commerce. He just kind of espouses the same values that Matt and I do in BGS. So we connected really well, but he's gone from customer of a book to part of the Ecom Insider family to part of the Amplified Partner family. So he kind of has been through the entire gamut of the BGS ecosphere. And he's also one of our 8-figure awardees. He runs a very successful jewelry business. He's not the prettiest jewelry model, but his wife is, and that's why their business is so successful. They do a great job together, but they run a family business selling jewelry, to the tune of 8 figures. So it's a great business. And Deven's got some really insightful ways of the way they run their business, the way they operate, and really excited just to kind of jam with him today and let him share some of his wisdom with you. So Deven, thanks for being here, Bo.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. Sorry I couldn't be here last time. I know we have rescheduled. It is 3 times. 3 times we've rescheduled. Last time I was in Hawaii celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary. I wanted to do it, but Kim was insistent that we not. So in order to stay married another 20 years and longer, here we are today.
Yeah, you still popped into some training we were doing while you were on. It was one of the webinars we were doing it. Yeah, Deven, you're in Hawaii.
Yeah. I got bored on the beach, and it was between snorkeling sessions. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
So before we kind of get into anything more tactical or technical, why don't you kind of give people a little background on you and your ecom journey?
Yeah, I think I don't know if there's a prototypical ecom journey. I think everybody kind of has their entry point, and usually, as was the case for me, I think it was a need. I wanted something. I was looking for something. I didn't have what I needed or wanted in my life, and I thought maybe ecom is it for me. So my background was in marketing. I taught sales and marketing in a direct sales business. Had a really large direct sales organization, 20,000 salespeople across the United States. And that was kind of my jam. I loved it. I did that in my 20s and made a lot of money doing that, and really thought that I had life by the tail. I went around and I was speaking in stadiums filled with people, and I had cars and houses and boats and things, and ultimately I thought, okay, I was telling you earlier, and repeatedly, I thought I was invincible. I remember 29 years old, I had millions of dollars in the bank. That gives you a lot of confidence. I had millions of dollars deployed, bringing in investment dollars every month. And I really was at a point where I thought, I have everything. I have a beautiful life. I have 4 kids. I have a beautiful wife. Everything is perfect. Nothing could ever go wrong in my life. And life's funny like that when you start to think that, very frequently, God, I think, will just say, you're funny, little one. There you are. 2 years later, I'm homeless. I'm living in my in-laws' basement at their mercy, eating their food, which was a humiliating, really just devastating experience for me. It's too early to cry right now, Tanner, but for someone who has a lot of pride in their work ethic and and in their ability to produce and be a provider, that was an absolute low point in my life. I went from, I remember our oldest daughter was young at the time, and she's like, "Daddy, what happened to your Range Rover?" As it's going away on the repo truck, and like, why don't we have a boat anymore? And I like our house. Why do we live here? We're driving a borrowed minivan, one with the maroon one with the wood paneling,
wood tape or panel stuff.
Yeah, it's peeling off. I'm ducking everywhere I go. I'm avoiding my friends. I don't want anyone to even know that I'm there. And really, after a period of time, I was like, I went out for a job interview. People are like, "You've never worked a job. How are you gonna have a job?" It was just this morally devastating point in my life. But I still was like, I have these kids. And Kim, to her credit or not, I don't know. But I mean, she's like, "Hey, you're good. You're smart. You're handsome." I mean, she has visual issues. But, she's right here, so I'll say that and dry my tears. But the question was, how do I get started in e-com? Well, I thought, I have YouTube. Mm-hmm. I have a computer. I had an old laptop in the basement of my in-laws' house. I would watch YouTube videos at night. I learned how to make a website on WooCommerce, WordPress based, and I thought I can sell crap. I know how to sell things. I can do this, and I think I know marketing well enough to figure out how to get out there. So the first business that I had was a hand sanitizer business. Mm-hmm. The actual e-com part of that was a failure, but we had some really good wholesale clients, and that turned the corner. I started to gain some confidence again. In the meantime, my wife had gone to work for some friends of ours. Actually, she went, it was right before Christmas, and our friends owned a jewelry company that was selling jewelry in Costco. They needed extra salespeople to cover a shift here. They had shows all over the country, but they had one here in town in Boise where we live. And Kim went to sell some jewelry in the Costco so that we would have enough money to buy our kids some Christmas gifts. That's how we got started in this current business. I kind of built on the side. Kim sold at this show, and our friends knew that we were broke. They were kind, but they were like, look, I know you guys have nothing. Kim, would you be interested in maybe working for us part-time? You're really sharp. They found out that she's a math major and had a really good brain for organization and is fun to be around. And so they were like, why don't you come organize our inventory? We need help with that. And I watched her do that, and it hurt my pride because she had never worked before, and I was like, I'm a crappy provider. But there we were, and a couple of years later, she was running the company. And then a couple of years after that, we had an exit with the hand sanitizer company. I convinced my current partner and our friends that they needed a partner, and that we should sell jewelry online, not just in Costco. And that's really how the e-com business started. I was making websites on the side. I was teaching myself the basics, the skill set, to carry what I knew about marketing and sales over into a way that I could put it to use in e-commerce. So that's a long answer to the first question, Tanner.
That's good.
That's how I got started. I was broke, and I thought maybe this is a solution for me.
No, that was cool, because it's funny because I know a lot of that story, but like you just filled in a lot of gaps and other details that I did not know, and that's crazy. Like when all the pieces just kind of fall into place. Like I hear that story and I'm blown away by it, because it's it's literally, the peak to the valley to the peak, and just we were literally talking about this in a separate context right before this show. So very hitting home for me right now. But yeah, so you guys started, the jewelry company, started bringing it online, obviously out of the Costco world, and actually that's about the time. Well, you're already online, but it was about the time you guys were kind of separating from Costco when we started really kind of communicating and working together more. And you guys have done some really interesting things with that brand. Like you've actually built a brand. You're not just slinging jewelry, right?
Right.
And so I guess, why don't you tell people a little bit about like how you guys operate, like what you guys do different? Because you guys do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's really been interesting to experience that transition. Costco was good to us, right? I mean, it was easy to be fat and happy, and you have a certain customer walking in there. They have disposable income. They know they're there to spend money, and that was a really interesting business model that made me a little more confident in my ecom skills than I should have been. I was like, we're killing ecom. I didn't realize that there was probably $200,000 or $300,000 a year that was just coming as a result of people walking by our displays in Costco and looking us up. So had nothing to do with my skill. They were there, they were buying, and then they were there buying online too. So as we kind of transitioned, we're no longer in that Costco Roadshow program, and that's a long story. That's an episode in and of itself in business. But I think as we made the decision to transition and take control of the brand, like you talked about, we realized pretty quickly that any product can be commoditized. And if you treat your product or your business in general as a commodity, essentially you're treating yourself as a commodity as well. And it's essentially always the same path. It's a race to the bottom. Yep. If you commoditize something, it's a race to the bottom and you're competing on price, which is not a fun place to compete. So as we've retooled and reconfigured this, we took what we had in Costco, which was a very wide variety. That was our expectation with our relationship with them, is that we would bring in these unique collections from all over the world, and they really were cool. Every single one of them was really cool and unique. And walking around a display table, that's cool because people pick up things. But in an online, you click on my ad, you go to a landing page, and I want you to buy something without knowing me or having the trust of being in a Costco warehouse. It's a completely different experience. So you have to create a brand, and you have to be very intentional about what people's experience with you may be. And so as we've kind of unpackaged that, we've gone back to our roots as a company. We manufacture primarily in Italy. And there's something magical about Italy. People know Italy. They respect the fashion sense of the Italians. They respect the manufacturing process. There's very stringent guidelines and procedures there. And the Italians take a lot of pride in their craftsmanship. So we were like, why are we not telling that story? Why are we not focusing on that? Why are we not taking that story and really, instead of commoditizing the Italian jewelry that we have and trying to compete with China, let's elevate that and let's give them an experience that is unique. So that's the basis of what we're doing now. We're focused on building a brand that has much more of a storyline than just a widget.
And that's exactly. I honestly, I believe that's truly what has set that brand apart and why it works the way that it does. And that's actually, I think, where we ought to take this episode is talking about that, because, guys, he's telling you, like, we're building a brand, and everybody talks about, I'm my brand, or I'm building a brand or whatever. But most people are full of shit because they really don't even know what to do to build a brand or what a brand really is. But in Deven's case, and Kim, his actual boss, those two, their customers, are rabid. Like, what's that guy? You have that guy 75 times he's purchased?
Yeah, we're up to 83 now, I believe. I won't say his name, but I mean, he's there. He's in Long Island, New York. 83 orders. We're doing something right with him.
Over a period of time. So, over a couple year period, right?
Right.
And, they have that's like, the grandstand awesome one, but they've got a lot of customers that have massive repeat, purchase rates, and the repeat customer rate is very high, and there's brand loyalty, and they're like, whenever a new collection or a new product drops, the existing customers are buying it up. So it's not a one and done type business. It's an actual brand where the people are relating to that. And they're, it's not something that just happens. It's a very tactical, it's very practical, and it's very much a premeditated process for doing that. But you guys put a lot of effort into it's not just sending an email or, making a promotion. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. And so I want Deven to kind of touch on some of these things, but guys, when you think about it, one thing Deven became an expert at, because he felt the need to, was email. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So they do a bunch through email, but when they're building a brand, or anybody's building a brand, there's a lot of, we were talking about this before the call as well, a lot of back end groundwork and behind the scenes stuff that most people will only see the tiniest little bit of. But if it's not done, there's no momentum built. There's no brand presence. There's no rabid following, and all of that stuff has to be done without an immediate ROI. It has to. So it's those front end focused brands that are just running ads to make sales. That's only one little drop in the bucket of all the work that has to be done to really create lifetime customer value, and that's what a brand does. So they've done a very, very good job with that. His wife, Kim, is the face of the company. When she talks about a product, people just are drawn into it. I mean, now let's talk about this, guys. Jewelry. It's jewelry. Like, yes, they're cool collections, but by itself, it's a commodity. Like Deven was saying, there's nothing that incredibly special about it until they wrap their magic around it, which is the way Kim presents it, the stories they tell, and all of those elements, and how it ties in with the brand. And that's why people come back 83 times and buy from them, right?
Yeah, I think, as you were talking there, I had an epiphany almost, or, you know things that you forget, and then you're reminded occasionally. I was reminded that people buy products all the time, but they buy over and over and over again from someone that they know, like, and trust. Mm-hmm. And this is just marketing 101. It's relationships 101, right? This is true of our family relationships. It's true of our circle of friends. If I know you, Tanner, if Tanner, you come to me and you are telling me about something, I know that I'm going to listen because I know you, I like you, and I trust you. We have a relationship that's based on experience, and I know that I have questions about ecom or business or life in general. I can come to you, and you're a sound point of data for me that I can use to make decisions. Well, as we're building a brand and being intentional about that, we have to remember that relationships are what we're really building in a brand. Mm-hmm. And people want connection. I think, for context, we're coming out of COVID right now. People have been socially isolated. They've been physically isolated. They've been in a situation where unprecedented. We've seen things change in the country and the world. And I believe that people are craving connection more right now than they ever have been, at least in my lifetime, where they really want to identify with something. And you see it in a political space where people are looking for something to attach themselves to. And to a lesser degree, your brand can certainly be it. You can create a circumstance and a situation where your brand is attracting the right people simply by being present, not president. Please, let's not do that. Being present in their space, meeting them where they're at, seeing what they want, see a need, meet a need, and then having a conversation. Kim's excellent at that as the customer-facing piece of our business. She'll do ads right now. Ads are who knows what ads are, right? It depends on what Uncle Zuck wants at any given point. But right now, our best ads are Kim talking to the camera, saying, hey, I want to show you this piece. This is me. This is what I do. I'm a mom. I have 4 kids. I'm going this week. I'm going on vacation. I want to show you what I would be wearing, or what I will be wearing out at dinner. I want to show you what I'm wearing when I'm traveling. Just creating these situations that all of our customers are in. I don't care what you sell. You have a customer, they're in a situation, and if you can meet them where they're at and plant that seed of camaraderie and friendship, there's shared ground there. Those ads are doing exceptionally well. Just for context, last month we spent $100,000 on those ads on Facebook using Kim's face, and that was the ROI on that was just unbelievable. I mean, it's crazy. So I think I'm off subject now, Tanner, from what the original question was. But as far as brand building goes, I mean, it's relationships, it's courting, it's consummating, it's afterwards. You know, we want that ongoing relationship, and to create that circumstance where people come back over and over and over and over again. That's the base, and there's a lot more details in there, but the base is it's a relationship.
Yep. And that relationship is built through the back end of the business, not the acquisition channel. Like even the ads you're talking about with Kim talking to him, that gets them hooked, that gets them interested. But then the actual brand and the loyalty that comes from that is built through what happens after that sale is made, right? And that's where you guys have really, I don't want to just say stepped up your game, but you really have. And that's, you guys are pulling in what, 30+% of your revenue from email and, back and follow up?
Yeah. I mean, we are between 30 and 40%. Depends on the time of year and what kind of promotions we have going. I looked this morning, we were at 36% this morning over the last 30 days. I'm pretty, and I don't believe any of that. That's all a blended attribution model. Yep. But it's ultimately, like you said, we plant the seeds of a relationship on the front end with Kim's videos. We set her up as the voice of the company. We have a top of funnel offer. It's attractive, but if somebody doesn't know us and it's acquisition, they're still just they're not even sure if they're going to get the product, right? I mean, we have 7,000 reviews, almost 8,000 reviews on our top of funnel product, and people are still incredulous. They're like, is this coming from China? The ads have all of these questions, and people are conditioned to be jaded a little bit, especially if they don't know you. Yep. So it's incumbent upon us to create and give them a comfort level. We have to say, all right, and hold their hand every step of the way. They click on an ad where Kim's telling them about this beautiful chain. They see the chain, they read some reviews. There's credibility built into the site. The site's well done with the help of Tanner, you and your team, and we're constantly testing. But ultimately, we build enough trust. Somebody comes up, they get their wallet out, and there's a transaction. And from that point forward, branding really begins. The experience of value add, which has really been an epiphany for me in brand building and just life in general, adding value anywhere possible is, to me, one of the greatest keys of success in business, marketing, life, whatever. So we try to deliver value. We try to surprise and delight. We over communicate on delivery expectations. We over communicate on how to use the product. We go above and beyond in packaging. We go above and beyond in showing people how they can then use the product. And yeah, we're trying to sell them more, but it's really in the context of, you bought this adjustable length chain from us, and now here's Kim saying, this is what I add to my chain. These are the medallions that I put on the chain. This one is my birthstone. This one is a letter disc that represents my kids, and we have all of these things that really people buy into, and they're like, that's so cool. And then we tell the story like, hey, this is, for us, it makes sense to tell the Italian story. This is designed and manufactured in Italy. Here's the multi-generational family that we work with to do this. This is the process. And you bring people into the story, and that's the seeds of that long-term relationship. They're like, wow, this is cool. This is something that I want to be involved in.
And then along with that, which is powerful, guys, if you're listening to this, like, think about how where you're not doing that in your brand, because chances are you're not. We were in EI, our Ecom Insider group, someone just posted they had just bought a very expensive nootropic from a high-end brand, and that everybody knows, and they were shocked at the fact that there was no customer value provided in the box. It was just a brown box with the product, and they threw it out. And they're like, I can't believe there's no welcome letter or instructions or anything that provides value. And that's the kind of stuff that Deven is talking about when he's saying over communicating and doing all of that. And then from there, then you have to stay in constant contact, but in a way that actually provides value, like Deven said. But it can't just be promos. Like, you can promo like crazy, but in between there, you got to do other stuff that builds the value. Like Deven, they invest a lot of money into content every month. They've got a blog blog content that's updated and added to on a regular basis. They have a team of writers that do that. They have founder emails that go out every week. Is that right?
Yeah, at least once a week. I mean, in our communication, just like you're saying, the backbone of this being adding value, right? I think we know if people are trying to extract from us or add value to us. And even if we don't dial into those exact terms, we feel it. If somebody's trying to extract from us, we feel icky. It doesn't feel, we don't like it. And ultimately, as a marketer, if you're doing that and you're only thinking about extracting from your list and from your customers, you got a short lifespan in e-commerce. And in life in general. Look, if you're a taker and you never think about giving back, life sucks. If that's your approach, it's just no fun. You have no friends. People avoid you. You're a pariah. And a lot of us don't connect that with our businesses. We're like, well, I need sales. And the truth is, no one gives a crap what you need.
So true.
No one cares what you need. I had a great mentor young in my early business said, you can't bring your needs to the marketplace. No one gives a crap about your needs. Your needs have no value. You cannot exchange them for something. So because you need money doesn't mean that you get money. I mean, despite what anyone in the world tells you right now, just because you have a need doesn't mean that you get that need met. You have to deliver value. So in that context, we approach every communication and every customer experience. We do have founder emails. So in the voice of Kim, who they already know from the ads usually, and they know from our welcome flow and our emails, where that relationship building has already taken place. Now they're saying, okay, so on a Monday when nobody cares about an email, we're saying, let's not try and extract today. Let's deliver value by educating. Let's have this blog content go out, and we'll talk about 7 ways that you can use the pieces in your jewelry collection to diversify these looks, or seven ways that you can this. We do a lot of listicles. We do a lot of how to clean your jewelry or how to store your jewelry. A lot of just being a better consumer and understanding the jewelry industry better. On Tuesday, we'll have Kim drop in and say, hey, hope you're having a great week. This is what we're doing. We're really excited about this collection that is going to be dropping later this week. Hope you enjoyed the blog article yesterday. Here's how I clean my jewelry. And she throws a little snippet in there to build on that relationship. By the way, we're making offers in all of these emails. I mean, at the bottom of the blog, I'm saying, hey, don't feel like reading? Here's our best sellers that are related to whatever we're talking about. And you'd be surprised. Buyers are going to buy. Not everybody's ready to buy all the time. So we're kind of creating this hybrid situation where we can entertain, educate, and deliver value. And if you deliver value consistently, the marketplace rewards you. You take your value to the marketplace instead of your needs. Well, it may take some time and it may take some consistency. It certainly takes both of those in most circumstances. But if you're consistent bringing your value to the marketplace, if you're consistently looking for new ways to add value, not extract, the value comes back to you tenfold. I mean, usually by a Thursday or a Friday, if we're talking about a particular subject all week in our emails and our SMS, our text communications, by Friday, Saturday, there's a frenzy. People get paid on Friday. They're ready to buy. And there's no magic formula other than my friend Kim has been talking to me about this all week. She likes it. I like her. These guys delivered me good value on my last purchase. Here's my money. Take some money. And that's been a good foundation for us to grow the business.
Yeah, and the takeaway there, guys, there's some tactical wisdom in there too, but the takeaway is not being a taker, right? It's actually, you're in business to make money, yes, but the way you make money is by delivering value, and value in excess of what your product actually delivers. Right. And that kind of goes to the question or the statement that, we always say that, I'm in the jewelry business. No, you're not. You're in the business of marketing. You're in the jewelry, just the product that you sell. And what Deven's talking about is a way of marketing their business. And by doing a good job of that, they've been rewarded with not only money, but rewarded with a brand, because you don't get to just build a brand. You have to, it's a consistent application of process over time and consistent effort of doing all the things Deven's just talked about, that when that takes fire and catches momentum and everything else, that the reward from that is that you wind up with a brand. And when you wind up with a brand, the money follows, or the money could have already been there before, but it just gets bigger, and it's something that will last. And that's a big deal. I mean, that's a big thing that differentiates what Deven does and what most of our amplified partner and Ecom Insider members do versus your typical drop ship, or even whether it's drop ship or not, you're just your typical Shopify store or ecom store. They're all in it for a quick income stream, hit it and quit it, and not caring about the longevity of it. Like, that's why most ecom businesses their lifetime value is only slightly higher than their average order value, because they don't have a business. They don't have a brand. They have just an income stream that was eventually going to dry up because their customers aren't sticking around to ever come back, even if they sell them a good product. And, I've never really said it, but in my head, I have always considered, if I'm building my LTV correctly, I'm going to, brands and LTV go hand in hand. I don't think you can have one without the other. And so if you want LTV, lifetime customer value, and you want to have customers that come back 83 times to buy, well, then you need to nurture them. And because you think about it, the average buying sequence or customer life cycle is a matter of months at most, maybe 30 to 60 days on the average store. Deven's talking about someone 83 times over years. So what he's had to do through that process on this one guy is reset the customer journey over and over and over again by, renewing the relationship, because customers are either in the act of, becoming interested in your company or becoming less interested in your company. It's like a bell curve. They're in one of those two phases. So as they hit the top of the bell curve and start fading out, that's where that brand management and value add comes into play to kind of reset that customer life cycle, so they start all over again as a fresh customer. And if you're doing that right, that's where you get those customers that stick around for years and buy 83 times.
While you were talking there, Tanner, you may have another question for me. If you do, you can cut me off. Feel free to cut me off at any time. I know I ramble a bit, but I was thinking about the consistency you mentioned, and I think a lot of people inherently know this. They know it as consumers, they know it about their own businesses. And it's interesting how often we ignore what we know, or we just don't practice what we preach,
Totally.
right? I mean,
Yep.
even me right here, I hear the hypocrisy. I'm like, I'm not perfect in that.
Mhm.
But I think, you asked me about my ecom journey earlier. I think one of the greatest things I learned in that basement was to be consistent. I thought, if I'm going to be a professional and I want a professional outcome, I have to treat this like a professional would treat it. I think a lot of people give hobby commitment to their business and expect professional income. And that's just not reality. You're building a brand, really, it's hard to separate yourself from the brand. The brand is not something that's just out there and you build it and put it on a shelf. A brand is living, breathing, evolving every single day. And I think the key is every single day. We talk about that in our house. That's kind of one of our mantras is every single day. We say it a little differently sometimes,
Yeah.
but every single day, EDD in our family, and that's the approach we take in everything we do, because I want my kids to understand what it means to do the work, what it means to really be in the grind. I don't want them to live in this fantasy world. We live a pretty good life. We live in a very nice place. We enjoy a lot of material blessings right now, but there was a time not so long ago where we didn't, when we were hand to mouth. And I want the kids to understand most people's circumstances are never that extreme, but sometimes it takes that extreme commitment to really break through. I get a lot of questions from the Ecom Insider group sometimes about like, hey, what's your day-to-day look like? I'm like, half the time I'm like, do you really want to know? Do you want to know when I went to bed last night? Do you want to know when I woke up today? It's not me sitting on a beach most of the time. There are moments, there are times when I'm doing that, but there is a lot of work in there. And I think if you're not obsessing over your customer experience, if you're not constantly going through your own site and saying, how would a new customer see this? How would a new customer experience this? How would this email hit me if I didn't have a relationship with this brand? If you're not constantly obsessing over that, the chances of you really having a business that is going to be a long-term brand-based business are pretty slim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway,
that was good.
Yeah,
No, that was great. That's what I always love about our conversations, because they never go where I actually think they're going to go. But they always come out better than they would have if they actually went the direction I anticipated. And, because that's the thing, there's plenty of tactical training and plenty of, our podcast has tons of that. Like our ROs are constantly sharing crazy stuff there. But what we're talking about here is kind of more of the intangibles that actually make a brand successful. I mean, guys, what you're hearing, like, this is what it took to build an 8-figure brand. Now, do some people do it differently? Of course they do. There's different ways of doing it. But what I can tell you from my experience with working with thousands of different stores over the years, the ones the consistent story that I hear out of all of these brands that are breaking the 7 and the 8-figure, even the 9-figure mark, is exactly what Deven's talking about. It's consistency, it's building a brand, it's obsessing over your customers, and it is nurturing them along the process to maximize their experience, which then in return maximizes your lifetime customer value. And that's where your money is made. Like, you want to buy the big flashy house and the cars and all that stuff, that's LTV.
Yes.
You want to lease a car, that's AOV. That's the front end, right? You want to lease your Ferrari for $2,000 a month? Cool. Now you could do that with a front end purchase. You want to own it and have, all the things that go along with it and live that MTV Cribs lifestyle or whatever version of it you want. That comes after all the stuff that Devin's just talked about.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great example too. I mean, as we and this is you make a great point, Tanner. Like the tactical stuff is out there, and really, I've found my tactical home. I love the Build, Grow, Scale family. I love the Tanner Larsson, Matthew Stafford approach to business building and e-commerce. I think you guys have it figured out in a way that very few have connected the dots of all of the tactical knowledge that's out there and the how-to. You guys have connected it in a way that for me was meteoric for our rise. You know, I share a screenshot sometimes where I say, here's Black Friday, Cyber Monday 2017. And I remember vividly going to bed. I pulled an all-nighter on Thanksgiving, you know, had this website, everything was perfect. I finally hit the sack at like 5 a.m., just sure that I'd wake up to incredible sales. And I woke up a few hours later and I was like, I think the website's broken. The website must be broken. There's just no sales there. The website wasn't broken. The website was fine. Really, I just didn't have everything together just yet. And then I flash forward a year, having discovered your book, and then, like you said, coming into the Build, Grow, Scale family, connecting a lot of dots of technical know-how that I kind of understood, but putting those pieces together in a system and a format that allowed me to go forward. And then the next Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I think the number was over that weekend or that period of time was like 800,000 something, nearly 900,000. And I was like, that's a lot that happened in a year. But the screenshot doesn't represent what took place in between those two periods, right? There's just a lot of, like we talked about, obsessing, getting better, asking questions, doing it over. That email has a terrible open rate. What can I do differently? And not just saying, oh, it's not working and throwing my hands up in the air. I think if we surrender to thinking that the world's just happening to us, we're going to have a really hard time as entrepreneurs. We have to be proactive, and we have to just say, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna figure it out, and have the grit to go and then figure it out.
True. I mean, the only guarantee is if you quit, that it won't happen, right? There's no other, but that's the only guarantee. The rest of it is if you stick with it, it has to eventually happen if you keep going.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I you know, the screenshots are cool. And you know, it's always cool seeing like when you have your 2017 minute, it like hockey stick grows to the next year. I mean, that's all cool, but you're right. It's the work that happens in between those little ticks on the graph that actually make it happen. And, you know, another testament to what Deven does, guys, is, yeah, he's, you know, yes, he's got a business. He does great. He makes a lot of money, but he's in Ecom Insider. He's one of the most active people in there. He's very successful. Does he have to be the most active in there? No, he chooses to be one of the most active in there. He's on every one of our training calls, you know, unless there's a conflict, but he's there. Like even yesterday, we did a jam session where we do critiques for member stores and help them optimize everything. It was actually a really good jam session. There were some great stores on there. Guess what? Devin's right there chiming in, taking notes. I guarantee you there's little pads of paper all around his desk right now where he's been taking notes, little tiny pads of paper. No one, he's a big man, but not big pads of paper, right? But that's what he's doing. So he's always putting in the work. And, you know, we always say in our Ecom Insider family that, you know, you get into it what you put out of it, or you get out of it what you put into it, excuse me. And Devin's a prime example of that. Like he leverages what we provide in that program, and he adds value to the program as well. And because of that, he gets to reap the rewards, and his store does incredibly well. And it continues to get more and more optimized and more dialed in, and new GSD flows that he gets to add in and tweak to his own email campaigns and everything else. So it's not about EI is what we're talking about, but it's about the process that you're seeing what Deven does. Like it's not just in the store, it's in how he approaches the business, and it's how he learns, and it's the information that he extracts and that he uses it. There's a lot of people that get all this information. There's people that listen to this podcast and haven't done a single thing that they've learned on it, but they listen to it every single week. That's not the case for Deven, and that's not the case. If you want the results that Deven has, that can't be the case for you either.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You circle around this idea, right? That we don't know enough, or we're not equipped enough. All of that is just utter nonsense. No one's ever ready. So my parents live with us right now. Well, right now we built a home. My parents live with us. That's intentional. They're a little older, and their health is not great. And it's been kind of unique to talk to my dad. This is not ecom related. This is life related. And I was asking him the other day, Dad, when did you ever feel like you were ready or grown up or knew what was going on? When did you feel like you had life figured out? And he's like, I don't know. I'm not there yet. If somebody tells you they have life figured out, they don't. You just do your best. And you do your best with what you know. Now, what is interesting about those that I see in Ecom Insider, for example, it could be any group, it could be anyone. Look, we have Google. I make it a point in my household, if my kids have a question and it's a stupid question, no stupid question. Yeah, there's tons of stupid questions.
Yep.
Yeah, I just don't believe that. There are so many stupid questions. If a question is stupid and you should be able to find the answer using Google, I mean, I'll come back to this time and time and time again. We're inherently lazy, and we just want to be spoon-fed. And this, for example, is spoon feeding. I can walk you through how to set up a flow, and I can show you how to make 7 figures out of your email business, and I can show you how to run ads that are going to attract the right people, and I can show you how to do all of these things. But if you don't do the work, if you won't just Google something and figure it out, you're set up for failure. Yeah. And chances are you're going to blame a system, or you're going to blame somebody else, or you're going to blame your mom because she never taught you how to read, or you're going to blame your teacher because she never showed you how to use Google, or you're going to blame somebody. But ultimately, all of this boils down. Brand building, e-commerce, our lives, we have to own it. And we just have to take responsibility for it. Tanner and I were talking before this. If things aren't going the way that I want them to, I own that. Mm-hmm. We've lost millions of dollars. Yep. That's not somebody else's fault. Nope. It's my fault. I did that. Now, that doesn't mean I ran away with it. It doesn't mean I stole it. It doesn't mean that I flushed it down the toilet. But ultimately, I made those decisions. There's something empowering, and this is true for e-commerce. It's true for any business that you're in. When you turn the corner and take real control over your own outcome and say, I own this. This is me. I'm responsible for my own life. I'm not pissing and moaning about who's the president. I'm not pissing and moaning about who my neighbor is. I'm not whining about anything else. Your head down saying, I control this. Mm-hmm. That's when we start to win. The rest is all out there. The knowledge is right there. BGS is an incredible system. The people that I see thriving in Ecom Insider, in the Build, Grow, Scale ecosystem, are those who have it figured out right here. They figured out how to wake up every day, whether they want to or not, and treat their business like a business, not a hobby. They figured out how to work when they don't want to work. They figured out how to not make excuses and wait for tomorrow to do something that should be freaking done today. They just do it. They own it. And you can see it in their lives. You can see that their families respect them. That you can see that their spouse respects them. If you get to know them, you'll see that their kids even respect them, which is a rarity in today's world, because they do what they freaking said they're going to do. They show up and they do it, and they do it in their business, and they do it in their lives. And I can feel myself going off right now, but I think, when somebody asks me like, how do you have this success? You freaking decide to do it. Damn it. You just show up and you do it.
Yep. I agree. I think the only piece that I would add to that, guys, by the way, you just got a little taste of Coach Deven right there, but that's what we get all the time. And we love it when he goes off on his little tangents. But the other piece of that is nobody is self-made, right?
Yes.
A lot of us say, I have a poster in my garage, a custom print that an artist friend of mine made for me that says self-made. And I hang it up there because he made it for me and it's very nice and it was very expensive. But I look at it and I walk by and I'm like, that's not true. Every single time I look at it, and it's in my garage next to my Bronco and all my stuff. And I'm like, I'm not self-made. I have this I have Deven. I have this entire network of people who are around me, supporting me, helping me. And that's literally why we have Ecom Insider. Ecom Insider was built because I wanted a support group of ecom rock stars around me. And so the selfish need turned into this delivering value type of program that's awesome. But the people in that group, it's not about the program again, but what I'm trying to explain to you is we believe that a rising tide raises all ships. And that's true as long as all the ships are actually reaching out their hands and letting somebody help them, right? And actually using the group. So, Deven and I have a friend in Ecom Insider who just posted he does it all the time, but he posted a really good mental thing about what you can, circles of control and stuff like that. I just happened to read it. I needed it that day. It lifted me up. Someone else does another post. I type in there, it lifts them up. We have a call like Deven and I just talked today. It actually made me feel a whole lot better about what we were talking about. And but those are the things. Like you have to, knowing how to work when you don't want to work, great. But getting out of your own head, realizing that you're not alone, realizing that somebody else has been where you've been, realizing that someone else has probably suffered from the same problems or, overcome the same things, whether it's life, business, e-commerce, Shopify, whatever, that's where that community comes in. And that's how you actually achieve success. It's through the power of others helping you. If you're trying to go like a lone wolf and be the solo, I don't need anybody, you're going to have a hell of a time getting there. And you're going to hate life.
Yeah. Tanner, I was just reminded of an experience, and I've already cried on this call, so, you guys are going to think there's a regular, probably is more than it should be, but there was a time when I had gone to BGS Live. I showed up, and I know how to show up, and I'll show up correctly and put on this face like
you did. You showed up with hair.
Yeah, I had hair. Yeah. And what I don't think anyone there knew, and I got recognized on stage, I got a plaque, I got a 7-figure award, and I'm like, it was incredibly shallow for me because no one knew at the time what I was going through.
Yeah. And
I stayed another day. You guys had a bonus day that kind of a VIP event, and there was some deep dive tactical stuff. And I'm sure that I learned there. I'm sure that I did. What I took away from that was relationships, just like you're describing. Mm-hmm. I talked to you, I talked to Matt, I got to know you guys a little bit, we connected, and shortly after that, you recognize your people. Mm-hmm. And I needed that more than you guys could have possibly understood, even though I think you have a pretty good idea. You didn't know. Mm-hmm. You didn't know that, that's not even the story that I told earlier. You didn't know we were in the middle of lawsuits and millions of dollars and our Costco relationship just being flushed. And I was like, again, I can't make my family homeless again. And you find your people. Mm-hmm. You find your community. And I remember you and Matt, and I'm sitting in this very room. I couldn't afford furniture for it at the time, so just walls. And I'm crying my eyes out, and you guys are like, dude, you're awesome. We believe in you. Mm-hmm. We need that. we need that. That's, when you're talking about community, I was like, man, we take that for granted. But those kind words and those positive statements and those things that we can do, that's value add. It's all value, right? It's being a person who adds value to other people's lives. You guys have added value to my life in ways that you aren't even fully aware of. And hopefully that's, the law of reciprocity, we think brings that all back to us. That's how those ships rise. I love that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Again, like I said, I love our conversations because I never know exactly where they're going to go, but there's so much value and meaning and of the more important stuff. So this was a great episode. I'm super excited that we did this. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, leave a comment, leave a review below. Tell everybody what you think of Coach Deven. Ask him a question if you want. We'll do another episode where we can deep dive into more topics or specific things. But again, we do these episodes for you guys. Deven and I can have this chat offline and have just as much fun doing it. I can watch him cry anytime I want. So, but we're trying to let you guys get involved in watching him cry. So, to make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you're subscribed. You can go to buildgrowscale.com/podcast. You can subscribe to any of your audio podcast platforms there, and you can also get the show notes. And if you want to watch us on YouTube, we also do a video show, so you can subscribe over there as well. And with that, Deven, thank you so much for everything you shared today and just being so open and transparent. And I appreciate it, brother.
As always, my pleasure. Likewise, Tanner. Anytime, ask the questions. We'll, like you said, let's record it and do it again. Love it.
Absolutely. All right, gang. We will see you in the next episode. Ciao.
See you later.